Hi folks, it's Coach Kelvin here from the We Run Virtual Run Club, and We Run coach for Leeds and surrounding areas as well as online coaching. This is the second in a short series that I'm doing on hydration. In the first video, which if you've not watched yet, it might be worth taking a look at that. We looked at how to work out how many milliliters an hour we're losing from sweat, so fluid. Then that's at a certain temperature and a certain intensity. And then whilst we're training, particularly on longer runs, we need to replace some of that whilst we're running, and shorter runs we need to replace it after we run. So do bear in mind here that the shorter the runs, the higher the intensity is likely to be. So let's just take a look at how much we're going to replace as a percentage. Let's look at then for runs less than an hour and a half, how much we replace after the run, and also for longer runs, how much we also replace after the run, and why it's so important for runs more than 4 hours that we're taking on board the right amount of fluid. So for runs less than an hour and a half, we could say that we don't require any fluid whilst we're running. So runs from an hour and a half to 3 hours, we're looking at replacing 50 to 70% of our fluid loss. For runs in the 3 to 4 hour range, we're looking at replacing 70 to 80% of our fluid loss. Runs from 4 to 6 hours, we're looking at replacing 80 to 95% of our fluid loss. And for runs that are 6 hours or more, we're looking at replacing 100% of our fluid loss. So the deficit, so we're not replacing 100%. So the deficit we actually put back in the 1 to 2 hours after the run, and that includes shorter runs as well. So if someone's running for an hour, and they know that they lose 500 mils an hour, you don't need to take 500 mils on that 1 hour run, but you do need to drink that as extra hydration on top of your day-to-day hydration in the 1 to 2 hours following your run. And the reason that it's really, really important to work out how much fluid you're losing, and therefore how much to replace on runs that are longer than 4 hours, and particularly runs that are longer than 6 hours, is that we can actually get to the stage in that period of time where we what is classed as severely dehydrated. So for people doing ultras, they will know their fluid loss, and they will know exactly how much to replace, which is, for a run that's going to be more than 6 hours, it's going to be 100%. Because chronic dehydration actually has a health and safety concern. It can actually be sort of not just a detrimental effect to performance, but it can actually be quite dangerous. It causes swelling of the brain, it can cause kidney damage, and in the absolute extreme cases, it can lead to coma and death. What happens for most people in these situations in terms of ultras is they end up not finishing their event because they're severely dehydrated. It's actually really difficult to push the body to the point where we would actually not make it through a run because of coma and death. So that's something that we don't need to sort of worry about, but definitely it can have a negative effect on the kidneys and other things if we get chronically dehydrated. So, that's why it's super, super important for runs that are, let's say 4 hours plus, to be getting on board that, 80 to 100% of the fluid loss, and 100% those runs that are 6 hours plus, we need to be replacing 100% of our fluid loss. So I hope that makes some sort of sense. I'll pop those figures in the comment section, and if you've got any questions, please add them there too. And for now, happy running.